to our functional fitness Grow with GoGo class. Before we get moving, just a quick reminder of what else GoGo offers. So in addition to these classes, you can access rides, meals, groceries, medication delivery, and home services, all by calling one number, and that phone number is 855-464-6872. We also have a referral program. So at the bottom of your GoGo receipts, there is a code. If you give that code to a friend, once they've taken their first service with GoGo, you will both receive $10 in credit. So just a nice win-win if you want to share GoGo with someone else. We also have a Facebook group. So if you ever want to connect online, you can find us on Facebook. We'll share a link in the chat. You can just see how other people are using GoGo or connect with some other members. Let's see, if we haven't met, I'm Adra. I teach the yoga and the functional fitness classes here at GoGo on Wednesdays and Fridays. What do we need today? So for functional fitness, this class is generally more standing than sitting. If you need a class with more sitting, that's the yoga class. Yoga class is mostly seated. We usually use some weights. So I have some light weights here. I would get anything from 1 to 3 pounds if you want. Otherwise, you can grab cans or water bottles. And of course, you can do all of this with nothing at all, right? You don't need to use weight. It just gives you something to hold on to, a little bit more work for the upper body. Whereas when we're working the lower body, we're carrying our entire body weight. So it's already plenty of work. So feel free to grab those if you want. And now we had kind of a funny move of the week in that it wasn't just our typical something about the class prior, it was more about prepping you for today's class. So does anybody remember the move of the week? Oh, I see. Excellent, Carol. I get to see you too.
I think I'll be here for a few minutes. I don't know about my video. But anyway, the move of the week is how do you put on your shoes and socks?
Awesome. Great. Did you get to kind of notice or play around with that at all?
Uh, well, I do mine the same way all the time. It's kind of a process. I've got a high bed, so I have like a 1-foot step stool next to it. So standing up, but leaning against the bed for safety, I put 1 foot up on the step stool, put my sock on my toe, put my toe down, then pull it up the rest of the way. Then put my foot on the floor and do the other sock. And then I put both shoes on while I'm stepping into them on the floor. Then I put one shoe on the step stool and I pull it tight and I tie it. I always wear tied shoes with my MBTs. And then I do the same with the other.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Carol. I think that's so interesting because that's not a way that I was thinking of how people put on and off their shoes, but that's totally reasonable. Using a stool to lift your foot up just to bring the leg a little higher. I love that.
When I lean over to pull up my socks or tie my shoes, my chest is flat against my thigh. So I do get that motion that way.
So you're sort of if the foot is up, you're here.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Does one other person want to share how they take on and off their shoes in a different way? Is that you can just unmute yourself. I can't always tell if someone is waving. And you don't have to, just
I figured it out. This is called a sock helper. I don't know if can you see it? I can't see myself. But anyway, you put the socks on. I can actually do it if I could pull away. Put your socks on over these. Let me do it real quick here.
Actually, wait a second. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so everyone can see you bigger.
Oh, there we go. Anyway, could have picked an easier pair of socks to do. This is what it looks like. Okay, you can get these on Amazon or some of the Walgreens carry them. Or you can order them at Walgreens, but they're like $11 a piece, and they're very, very helpful. they save you a lot of time. And sometimes certain socks are a little more difficult to put on or to take off for that matter. But anyway, you drape the sock over the top there, if you can see that. There's the entire sock. And I don't know if I can do this.
Maybe
We'll
do it with your arm instead of your foot. You could just, oh, wait, we can see your foot. It's excellent.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you take the sock helper, you slide it on, and you just keep pulling. Anyway, I don't want these on right now, but anyway, you pull them on. Sometimes your toe gets stuck in there, but you can just kind of still reach and pull the sock on completely. There you go. All right. That's it. Oh,
that's awesome, Robert. Thanks for sharing your use of the sock helper.
Modified shoe horns. There's another one. I'll see if you can see this here. Like, can you see that? That one's attached to a brush, so you can brush your shoes off and bring them inside because it's winter here. So, alrighty.
Thank you.
My take. Thank you.
I love that you have I forgot to grab my shoehorn to use that, but most people know what a shoehorn is. But I don't have a socket, so that's really cool to see you use that.
And they have shoehorns like 2 and 3 feet long. Those are really helpful too.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. So the reason I wanted that to be the theme of class is we have to bend over some to put on socks and shoes. We have to turn our legs in certain positions. So we're going to do a workout that thinks about the mobility and the strength needed to put on and off or take on and off our socks and shoes. That's just the light theme. We'll be doing some other things here and there as well. And then I'm also seeing a nice message in the chat. Well, Judith, I'm glad you're here for class and resuming some physical activity. Alrighty, so we'll get moving. We'll have some time to chat at the end. So my screen should be your nice and big one, but if it isn't, you can adjust your settings. So if you move your cursor towards the top right-hand corner of your Zoom screen, you should be able to see me nice and big. And you can click the button that says view and you can pick speaker view. Or gallery view if you want to see everybody else. That's reasonable too. All right. Let's start in standing. So placing those feet down on the ground. Nice tall standing. Let's do some big shoulder rolls back. And shoulder rolls forward. And then letting those shoulders relax. Let's inhale, circle the arms out to the side and up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, lower the arms back down. Inhale, arms circle out and up. Exhale, lower the arms back down. One more. Inhale, arms circle out and up. And exhale, lowering the arms back down. Let's inhale, open up the arms and lift the chest. So I'll take my sweater up so you can see a little better. But we're doing a little back bend. So we're opening up the chest. And then round the back, bring the backs of the hands to touch and tuck your tail. So then we're stretching the back of the body. So inhale, we open up the front of the body. And then exhale, we open up the back of the body. A couple more times. Following your breath. And then make your way back to center, release your arms and begin to bend side to side, like you're reaching down your leg and then reaching down the other leg. Maybe noticing if one side feels tighter than the other. You can keep going like this, or if you'd like, you can add a reach of the other arm up towards the ceiling. So as one arm slides down your leg, the other arm reaches up. Even yourself out, maybe one more on each side. And coming back to center. Let's bring our fingertips to the shoulders and elbows point out to the side. Bend the knees and try and keep your lower body pretty still and twist just your upper body. So finding some rotation here. And go ahead and come back to center, releasing those arms, shake out those legs. And we're gonna go ahead and find a seat. So go ahead and sit in your chair. Just sitting up nice and tall. And we're going to warm up our wrists and our fingers. So starting with some wrist circles. So taking on and off or putting on and off our socks and shoes is a full body experience, right? So we're not only using our feet, but we're having to use our hands to grip. Circle the other way. So we need some strength and dexterity in the fingers and the forearms. We also need some strength in the hips, some flexibility to lean forward. Go ahead and interlace your fingers and push your palms forward, just giving yourself a nice stretch. And then we'll do a quick little hand exercise. So release your fingers. I'm just coming forward so you can see. You're gonna bring your thumb and pointer finger to touch, then thumb and middle finger to touch, thumb and ring, thumb and pinky, and then move yourself back up. Thumb and ring, thumb and middle, thumb and pointer. So just keep going up and down. If you need to initially, you can look at your hands while you do it, and then trying to do this without looking. So just working a little bit of coordination here. And for some of us, this is easy. Some of us, this is hard. All right, and then letting that go. Okay, now from here, from our seated position, we're gonna do some hinges, a little bit of core work, but also working on our hip flexor hinging. I'm moving sideways so you can see you don't need to move sideways. So sitting towards the front of the chair, so there's space behind you. We're going to hinge both forward and back, but we're gonna try and keep our spine still. So it's not a flexing and extending of the spine. The motion's really happening at the pelvis and the thighs. We'll keep it small for now and then we'll add on. So leaning forward, as far forward as you can without changing the shape of the spine from upright. So from your upright position, I'm moving my arm up just so you can see. From that upright position, when you lean forward, we're not curving the spine, not yet. And then lean yourself back. And again, you're not curving or arching the back. You can cross your arms in front of your body or let your hands rest on your lap, whatever works. So finding that breath, we inhale, lean forward only so far as you can without changing the shape of the spine. And then exhale, lean back towards your backrest. Inhale, leaning forward. Exhale, leaning back, feeling those core muscles. So what are we doing here? So not only are we warming up our core, but also as we come forward, we're getting some stretch in the backs of the hips and some compression in the front of the hips. And that compression tends to be necessary for us to be able to put on our socks and shoes because we have to lean forward. And we want to try and lean forward as much as we can from the hips and less from the spine. Right? There's nothing wrong with moving from the spine, but sometimes that can be a lot of strain on the back. So we want to create that mobility to be able to move from the hips. Just a few more. And now we're going to add a little bit more motion where you can use your spine a little bit. So we'll come forward and then let yourself round your back if you need to try and get your thighs onto, your torso onto your thighs. And then maybe hands come down towards your feet. If hands to your feet is too much, just keep your hands on your legs. right? And it's okay if you're not all the way down to your thighs. So some of us don't have the flexibility to touch the torso to the thighs. That's okay. You're just moving in that direction. You're coming as far forward as you can. So we're taking that motion that we did and making it more extreme and then allowing some motion in the spine. And then coming up. And we'll do that one more time, leaning forward. First, leaning as far as you can from the hips. Maybe you stay there. So if that feels best on the body, stay there. Or maybe you bend a little further, bringing your torso closer to your thighs. You might have your hands still on your legs, or you might bring your hands down towards your feet. Whatever you do, make sure it feels safe on the body. And then bring yourself back up, lifting your torso up. We're going to give our hips a little break, or spine a little break, and move the attention to the feet. So we'll go into a few heel raises here in seated. We are going to do these standing later, but just finding that mobility in the foot and ankle. So toes stay down, but the heel lifts and lowers. So it is also helpful to have that mobility in the foot and ankle when you're putting on socks and shoes, right? When we want to try and wriggle our foot in, it's good to have that strength, that mobility to do so. A couple more. So we're going to bring this up into a march now. You can still roll through the ankle. Try and keep your spine still. You're going to lift a leg, bring it down, and lift the other leg. So I put my hands here because I'm trying to keep my torso still and really move the leg in the hip socket. So we're trying to find, okay, can I flex at the hip? So that's that lifting of the leg closer to the torso without moving the spine. Because that's another way of getting closer to your feet. Right? Putting on socks and shoes is just figuring out a way to get those hands closer to the feet, or the feet closer to the hands. So you might even reach those hands downward. So it's not that you're grabbing for your foot, but you're reaching those fingers downward as you lift your leg and seeing how close are you getting to your foot without changing the shape of the spine. So right now we're marching in this sort of vertical fashion where the knees are facing straight forward. Later, we'll find some other ways we can get the feet up. Okay, now we're going to play with turning out. So as you lift one leg, you're gonna bring your foot, let me back up so you can see my entire leg. You'll lift a foot and then turn the leg out. So the knee goes out, the foot goes in, and maybe you get a little closer. Try not to change the shape of the spine yet. We'll get there, but we're trying to keep this torso upright and just reach with the arms, rotate the leg and bring it down. And then other side, so you lift the leg, rotate it out, so knee goes out, and we're reaching to the foot. This might be way down here for you, right? It might be low, that's okay. We're just finding that mobility and figuring out where your range of motion is. If this might seem familiar, it's sort of like doing our figure 4 stretch, and we'll do our figure 4 stretch here in a minute. So we're lifting, we're doing that flexion that we did earlier, but then we're turning out to bring the leg a little closer. So we lift, turn out to bring the leg a little closer. Okay, and then so we'll lift one leg, turn it out, and see where the foot lands. You can decide then where you want to go for your figure 4 stretch. You can either cross your ankle over your other ankle and let the knee open wide, and then we'll hinge forward from there. Or if it feels like your foot is close enough to your knee, you can bring your foot over your thigh to go figure 4 there. So you have 2 figure 4 options for today. So either the ankle crosses over the thigh or the knee, or the ankle crosses over the other knee, but then you're turning out that leg. With either variation, you can stay seated upright or lean on forward just to whatever degree feels safe, so that you're bringing your torso closer to your leg or closer to your foot. Go ahead and lift yourself back up, release, and we'll go to the other side. So as you lift your other leg and turn it out, you decide either the foot goes above the knee or the foot goes to the ankle. That leg turns out, so the top leg turns out because we're trying to get that position of the thigh. So it's a little bit flexed and it's also turned out. Either variation, you can stay sitting tall, or if you'd like, lean forward to give yourself a little more stretch. We're just bringing that body closer to the leg. Few more breaths here. And come on up, release, shake it off, and we're gonna move ourselves to standing. You can grab your weights here for this next thing if you want. You don't need to have your weights though if you don't want to. We're moving into some deadlifting. So this motion is part of the motion of getting to your feet, especially if you're standing, or one of the ways we get towards our feet if we're standing. Try and keep your spine still. So right now the name of the game is keeping the spine as still as possible so that we're not getting into the small bones and ligaments and muscles of the spine and really using our bigger muscles to get towards the ground. You'll let your hips go back, right? So the hinging is happening at the hips, and you'll bend those knees as you reach your arms forward in front of you without changing the shape of the spine, right? So you see where my hands are, they're not actually touching my feet, because if they were to touch my feet, I'd have to round the back. So I'm going to show you what not to do. We are not doing this. We're not curving the spine like a candy cane. We're trying to keep that spine nice and long as we bring our torso parallel-ish to the ground and then coming up. So we bend the knees, hips go back, torso comes forward, trying to bring it parallel to the earth, and then coming back up. So just keep going like this. Inhale on your way down. Exhale on your way up. Maybe two more. And coming all the way up. Keep holding on to your weights. Let your palms face in towards each other, and we'll go into some hammer curls. So we're bending the elbows and then bringing the hands down. So how does this relate to putting on our socks and shoes? Right, we need some arm strength to pull those socks on. So there's a little bit of bicep work there. So it's just sort of a reminder, the reason we're doing this today is thinking about how all the exercises we do can really relate to our daily activities. We just might not always mention it throughout class, but it's fun to sometimes break down emotion and think about all the components involved, or an activity and all of the components involved. Right, and then depending on the position of your body, you might actually not be using your biceps, you might be using, or your arms, you might be using your shoulders and your back a little more to put on the socks. So it's just another movement for us to find a little more strength and a couple more. Okay, let those arms relax. We're going back to the deadlifts, but I'm going to give you a variation. You can stick to that first variation with both feet on the ground that we were doing earlier, with your feet next to each other. Your second option is to bring your right foot slightly behind you. So your feet are only no more than a foot apart. There's some width between them. So you're not standing on a tightrope. So you take your feet from that standing position with your feet next to each other and you just slide your right foot back no more than a foot. Most of your weight is going into that front foot. That back foot is there for balance. So I want 60 or more % of your weight in that front leg, maybe 80, maybe 90. We do that same motion now. So we bend the knees, hips go back, we're leaning forward, torso comes parallel to the earth, the spine stays still, and then we rise. So keep going here. Again, if you don't like this variation, or it just doesn't feel safe or doesn't feel good, go back to both feet next to each other. What's happening here when we have one foot in front and trying to concentrate more weight on that front leg is that front leg is working a lot more because it's carrying most of our body weight. So without us even adding weight into our hands, suddenly our body weight creates that resistance for us. All right, next time you're up, we'll switch sides or switch legs if you're doing 1 foot in front, 1 foot behind. So other leg slides back, no more than a foot behind you. Most of the weight goes in that front leg. We let the hips go back, we bend the knees, torso is parallel to the ground or moving towards parallel, and then back up. You might find that when we just have one leg in front, even if it's harder strength-wise, it might be easier to get closer to your feet or to that front foot. All right, and then coming up. Woo! Back to those hammer curls, so those palms face in as we bend and straighten those arms. All right. And then we'll put those weights off to the side and make our way behind our chair. So come behind your chair. You can keep facing your computer or your tablet. I'm just going sideways so you can see better. If you can't get behind your chair because of the position of the chair, just have something to hold on to in front of you. So find a wall, table, just something to hold on to. From here, we're going into some heel raises. So we did some alternating heel raises and seated. Now we're doing it in standing. It's a lot more weight on the body, so it's more challenging. All 10 toes face forward. Let your feet be about 6 inches apart. We'll go up and down. It's up to you how high you go. So we're getting that motion and that strength in the ankles and the calves. And that mobility in the feet. Next time those heels are down, take a little break, shake it off. And then we're going into some balancing. So you might turn sideways so you just have one hand on your chair, but if you know you need 2 hands on your chair, you can. We are going to lift the knee up in a march though, so the knee can sometimes, depending on the length of your thigh bone, get in the way of the chair. So just know that you might need to adjust or play around. So at least one hand on the chair, maybe 2. We're going to put the weight down. It doesn't matter what foot you're going to do because we're going to do both. So stand on one leg, begin to lift the other foot off the ground. You can start with your toes down. So there's just a little hip flexion here. So we have one leg that's main standing, other leg just has the toes on the ground. That's option one. So you can stay there, right? If that feels safest for you, you stay there. Option two, you start to lift the leg as high as you can without involving the spine. So this is what we're not doing. We're not rounding the back. We're just trying to lift that leg as high as you can without moving the spine. And we're going parallel first, so that knee is straight ahead of you. Woo! So those hip flexors probably are working. Let's lower the foot down. Shake it off. And then we try the other side. So we're balancing. Other leg comes in front. The knee bends, the hip flexes, the toes are on the ground to begin. Right, toes are down. One or two hands on the chair. And then you lift the leg if you want. If not, toes stay down, right? You're just working on that balance. You lift the leg, and then without changing the shape of the spine, you're trying to lift the leg as high as you can. I'm pretty flexible, so don't feel like it needs to go as high as this, right? We're just trying to get it as high as you can without moving your spine. So be honest with yourself, because we only can work on that flexibility if we inhibit other parts of the body. So we really want to try and keep that spine from getting involved right now. Okay, and lower down. Whew. Shake it off. We're going back to our heel raises. Don't worry, we'll get a chance to balance again in a minute. So hands back to your chair. Feet are parallel, so toes are pointing forward. We go up and down, back to those heel raises. All right, and then shake it off. Let's do a quick stretch here for the calves. So keeping your left foot put, step your right foot back, anywhere from 1 to 3 feet back, and then bend your front knee. So all 10 toes face forward, both feet are flat on the ground. The back leg is straight and the front knee is bent. So we're giving ourselves a little stretch for that back calf. Step that foot forward and switch sides. So other leg steps back, 1 to 3 feet back, push the heel down, bend the front knee, back leg is straight, front knee is bent. And then stepping forward. All right, so now we're going back to that balancing, but we're gonna add a turnout of the leg. So it's what we were doing earlier, sitting in the chair. It's that lifting of the leg, but then we're gonna turn it out. We're adding this to the balance. So again, if that feels like too much, keep your toes on the ground, but you can still do some of those leg motions. So holding on with 1 or 2 hands, we'll bring one leg in front of you. So I'll mirror you if you'd like. That left leg comes forward. So the toes can stay down if you want. You can turn the leg out from there. So if you're going to keep the toes down, you're going to turn the knee out to this side. If you're going to lift the foot, go ahead and first flex at the hip. So lift the foot off the ground and then turn the leg out. So here you're going to feel some other muscles working. All right, and we're just trying to see, can we get closer to our leg or to our foot without changing the shape of the spine? So we're still standing upright. Then bring the leg down. And we'll switch sides. So other leg comes forward. So again, if I'm mirroring you, right leg comes forward, toes are down. And then you're going to turn the knee out to the side. So we're externally rotating. So we're working the leg in a different way. If you do want to find that balance with the foot off the ground, lift the foot up first in that parallel position, and then turn the leg out so that we can get a little closer to that foot. This is really hard. So hopefully you're feeling the challenge too. All right, and then bring the foot down, shake it off. Place both hands on the back of your chair or on your table and walk yourself back into an upside down L position. So the torso is parallel-ish to the ground. Your legs can be bent or straight. Your arms are reaching forward to give yourself a little stretch here. All right, and then coming up, walk yourself forward. We're going into now a hamstring stretch. So we'll step the right foot back. Again, 1 to 3 feet back behind you, but this time we're going to keep both legs straight. All 10 toes face forward. And we'll hinge at the hips, bending those elbows to bring your torso parallel-ish to the ground. It might be up higher. And again, we're finding other ways to get closer to your feet. Depending on your flexibility, you might choose to place your hands on your thigh or down your leg. So we're, again, trying to find other ways to get close to our leg without moving the spine. So now we're using the hamstrings, or we're stretching the hamstrings to do that. Hands back to your chair if you've moved them. Lift your torso up, and we switch legs. The other leg is in front now. Feet are 1 to 3 feet apart. All 10 toes face forward. We bend the elbows to bring the torso forward. Keep your hands on your chair if you'd like, or you can always move your hands to your leg to get yourself a little bit further down. And then lift yourself back up and come to stand. All right, let's grab those weights again. So now we're going into, we did deadlifts earlier with our bent knee, and then we did one leg back, one leg forward. We're now going to do it with a straight leg. One leg back, one leg forward. It's probably going to feel different, maybe a little more challenging. So the back leg will bend a little bit though. So front leg stands, back leg steps back a foot-ish, just like we were going to do earlier, what we did earlier with those bent knee deadlifts. Now we do straight leg, hinging forward, and then coming up. We're not going to do that many of these. It's just to play with this coordination. So we're hinging forward and back up. If it feels crazy to have 1 foot behind, 1 foot in front, guess what? 2 feet down, straight leg, back up. We're really focusing on keeping that spine still. All right, and then switch legs if you're doing one-legged or one leg in front. Otherwise, just keep both feet flat on the ground. We're just feeling, okay, is there strength here as well as flexibility? All right, and then coming up. And then we're going to come down to sit. So now we're going to get to our feet using our hands, and we're going to allow the spine to move a little bit, but at a minimum, right? So we want to try and do as much as we can with our big muscles and as little as we can with this spine. But if there's a little bit of bend in the spine, that's okay because that's real life. So I'll mirror you. Let's lift that right leg up. So we're going to start with the parallel march. So we're going to lift that right leg up, and then you're going to try and touch your ankle or your foot or your calf, wherever you can. right? But then you're gonna allow yourself. So instead of what we did earlier, yes, earlier, right, we would only keep the spine still. But now let yourself round a little and see. Does that give you that space to grab a hold of the foot? And come down, and then switch sides. So other leg comes up. We're going in that parallel fashion. You're reaching down as far as you can. The moment you can't go any further, then let yourself round a little. But you're trying to get as much of the motion as you can in the hips before the spine gets involved. And back down. One more time each side, parallel. So we're lifting the leg. And again, it doesn't matter how low you go. It's just an exercise. Reaching down towards the ankle or the foot. And down. And then other side, lifting, reaching down towards the ankle, foot, back down. Now we go into that turned out position. So you're going to lift one leg and then turn it out and reach towards the foot. You can bend the knee as much as you need. If you can grab the foot, you're welcome to grab it and lift it. And back down. Other side, we're lifting, turning out. First, you do as much as you can without changing the shape of the spine. And then if you need to, you change the shape of the spine. You'll do that a few times. So we're lifting, turning out. You might not actually grab your leg. I was just showing that that's an option. If you can grab your leg, that you can create a little bit more mobility there. Other side. Great, one more time each side, lifting, getting to as close to your foot as you can. Right, as you do this more, it might feel easier and easier. And again, it's okay to let your spine move a little here. We're just trying to minimize. Great, then foot comes down. Now we hinge forward at the hips. Forearms find your knees, that's option one. Or, well, I mean hands find your knees, that's option one. Option two, forearms find your knees. Option three, you find your feet. So you can let your back round a little bit. So here you're really supported to try and get your hands down towards the feet. 3 breaths wherever you choose to be. And then come on back up. Feel your feet firmly planted on the ground. Let's inhale, circle the arms out to the side and up towards the ceiling. Palms touch, hands lower towards your chest. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, arms circle out and up. And exhale, hands come towards the chest. Give yourself a round. Awesome work, everyone. So great to have you. A couple of things. So to sort of stick to this theme, our move of the week is figure 4, right? That can mean a lot of different things. So figure 4, we did this a few times. That's either when your ankle crosses over your other ankle and the knee opens out to the side, or you bring your ankle over your thigh. So figure 4. I want you to try and play with that, finding that mobility. And it's totally fine to have that ankle crossing. When you're practicing this, you can practice with your torso upright or forward, play around with it. So our move of the week for next functional fitness is figure 4. I'm going to write that down. Otherwise, I will forget. And then now we have time if you have any questions or comments. Today's class was a little different than typically, as many of you know, because we really had a very specific theme versus a general workout. So if you have other questions about that, now is a good time to ask. And you can put it in the chat or and unmute yourself.
Hey, this is Carol. I was keeping track of everything we did, and the only thing I do that you did not do is like a toe raise. Instead of the heel raise, I do a toe raise to get my socks on my toes. Then I put my foot down, then I raise up my heel to pull the sock up over my heel. But toe raises kind of stretches your calf muscle.
That is so good. I didn't think about that. Oh, that's amazing, Carol. So if anyone is not sure what Carol means, and Carol, correct me if I'm misunderstanding, but part of the putting on the shoes, we did a lot of the components, but one of the pieces that we didn't go over is that lifting of the toes.
Yes.
Right? This part because that's sort of part of getting like shimmying that foot in, right? You start with the heel up, and then once it's in, you have to flex the foot and lift the toes. Oh, that's so good. Maybe I'll have to add that next time we do a socks and shoes class. Did anyone else find something that they go, oh wait, we didn't go over something that a body movement that you feel like you need to do when you're putting on socks and shoes?
How do you feel about step-in shoes?
What do you mean? How do I feel?
I've tried them. I don't own a pair, but I don't seem like I get very much support in those. Once they're on, it's like walking in a. We used to have these things when I was a kid called they were like slipper shoes, like for around the house in the wintertime. But I don't feel like I have any kind of support in those things. It's like I'm wobbling all over the place. It's like being on a pair of skates that are too big.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I'm not a huge fan of step-in shoes unless they're really well fitted.
Yeah.
Because what happens is when the shoes are too big, we start to shuffle a little bit instead of walking normally. So what happens is that out of the way. Is instead of taking these normal steps, we start to almost slide or skate because we don't want to lose the shoes. So if you do get slip-on shoes, what I would do instead is get a regular pair of shoes and get elastic laces so that they're stretchy and you can get them on with a shoehorn. So that it helps you get your foot in there, but there's more support. I'm not a huge fan of slip-on.
This is Carol. I was just going to say, I have to have my shoes tight to my foot. That's why I wear shoelaces, because I can tighten them as much as I want them tightened.
Yeah, that makes sense because we want that actual support and not, if shoes are too loose, we're more likely to trip because we can't feel what's going on or to shuffle. Oh, and I'm seeing Judith, you've written in the chat, thank you for the exercises for flexibility. You have osteoarthritis in your knees and some stiffness. These exercises help you. Awesome. Thank you, Judith. Thanks for sharing. Great to have you. And we do a lot more stretching in our yoga class. So if you're looking for more flexibility work, we do more in our
Does that device that he used to put on the socks, does that work with compression socks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Robert's saying yeah.
Does it? Oh, very good. It's Margaret. I'm not on the scene for some reason, but I'm here. I'm getting ready to leave, though. I always have to leave early on Wednesdays. Sorry.
No problem, Margaret. Great question and great to have you. And I'm glad, Robert, that you know that they work with tight socks. That's good to know.
I find that just putting on compression socks and taking them off is a workout in itself.
I agree. All like gripping it with the fingers and.
I certainly agree with that.
This is Judith. Yeah, for those slip-on Skechers, I got some last year, and for my husband, who's not here anymore. But the key is to wear a socks that have some kind of static. I mean that'll grip the shoes, and not wear thick socks. Like wear a pair of thin socks to slip into them, because I had trouble the first time. They said, oh yeah, on the advertisement you can just walk into them, slip in them. No, I had to work at it sometimes. And the type of socks have friction, that would have friction, that helps. Not real thick, and they had people using bare feet, but I don't like bare feet in socks. So yeah. So yeah. And putting on these like real stretchy pants, they're like a workout for me. Someone gave them to me for a present, and they're like real tight. They're like these like compression pants, and like you put them on and it takes them, but it massages my legs, and they're like slacks. So I got used to them, but so yeah, that's a workout too.
Thanks for
I have one other tool here. These are long with a curved end needle nose pliers. They're the long ones, as you can see. But if you take these and put a little medical tape around each one of these, you can actually grab your socks and pull them on like the compression socks. You can actually grab these gently and pull them on, and actually to take off the socks too with these. It's always a good idea to like maybe take the medical tape and put it around here because it'll keep this from tearing the sock. And also this is good for like certain sneakers that I pre-tie. This can you pull the tongue towards yourself and you get the shoe on a little bit easier between that and the shoehorn. Then you have your shoes on. But you can wear something with a little more support in it with this tool. And you can get these at Harbor Freight or at Walmart. They're not very expensive.
Robert, that's amazing. Were you an occupational therapist in a past life?
No, but I've dealt with chronic pain and I had a spinal cord injury. I've had 7 spine fusions, and wow. I've been in some sort of physical rehab or my own maintenance for about a little more than half my life. So I was a pretty terrific athlete when I was young. I was a great tennis player. I played college, and high school hockey. So the injuries I've incurred, it's like, between all the studying and all the classes I've taken, it's such I have a fairly well-rounded appreciation for what you do. And what my physical therapist, I'm always changing a little bit with the physical therapy. What I found is Tai Chi has been very, very helpful because I had a hip fracture and 2 hip replacements on one side from another accident. That's been very, very helpful. And the other thing too is working with people that deal with injuries in sports medicine. So that's also been very, very helpful. But most of your decent insurance companies will take care of that. Personally, I have United Healthcare, so they've been very, very good to me and keep me mobile, functional, like you say, functional fitness.
That's amazing, Robert. I love that, and that you have such a wealth of knowledge. It's so cool to hear your story. Thank you.
Yep.
Robert's right. We have to keep moving. If we sit down, we deteriorate.
Yep.
Thank you for the tips on the tools to put on socks too. And
well, you're welcome, ladies.
My flexibility seemed to go over. I don't know. I'll be 69 this year, and
God bless.
Oh yeah, so I know it's like, I noticed some things. I'm not as flexible, and I gotta keep moving. I have a girlfriend who's 75, and she's amazing. She says, yeah, you gotta keep moving. There's one exercise: you stand against a wall, your wall in your floor, on your home, anywhere, and gently stand up straight, and then move down with your knees, and then it's like a gentle exercise too. So yeah, she told me to stand on her toes, to walk a little bit for balance, but I don't know about other people, but it's hard. But yeah, she walks and it's incredible. So yeah, you just have to work on it. And yeah, sadly my husband didn't, so he gave in. So tried. Well,
we're so glad you're here.
He's 81. He was 81 and he died last month, and he kind of
I'm so sorry for you, dear.
Yeah, he was loving towards the end, but he kind of gave in. So I just I learned from that, a lot. It's just yeah, I don't want to dwell on it, but yeah, if you don't move your body, he was bedridden, so it was just 2 years. I mean, he had to move around, but then his legs gave out. He tried home physical therapy, and it was frustrating for him. So yeah, God bless him. He's out of pain.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Judith, but it sounds like you know how better to take care of yourself than he did. So we'll have you around for a lot longer.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I'm still mourning him because it's a big thing. I was with him for 35 years, and it just hit me after the night he passed away. It's just that I got to carry on. So, yeah.
That is so tough, Judith. I'm so sorry, but I'm so glad you are here with our community, getting to work out and connect with us. I hope you keep coming so that you can take care of yourself.
Yeah, I need the interaction daily, and I try to force myself to do everything. He had so much wardrobe. I'm donating a lot of stuff, and so yeah, it keeps me active.
Alrighty.
Adrian?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I had one other thing I wanted to mention, not that I'm promoting Netflix, but there was a 3-part series called Live to Be 100, The Blue Zones. And what it is, it's like a 30-year study by this one man of these, I think there was 4 or 5 places in the world where people live to be 100. They have a real high rate of people living into their hundreds. And they all had certain things in common. One of them was diet, one of them was exercise, and another one was community or church or whatever it is, or girlfriends getting together or guys getting together still. But a large part of it was just being active and trying to stay in touch with society. And any kind of camaraderie seemed to help. But it's pretty interesting. It goes by real fast. You can do your exercises while you're watching it.
Great recommendation. Thanks.
You bet. Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, well, we better go, but I will hopefully see you on Friday or on Wednesday. Have a wonderful rest of the week until then. And stay healthy and see you soon. Thanks, everyone.
See you next Wednesday.
Thank you. See you next Wednesday.
Thanks, everyone.